I'll make you famous. This is Matthew back again with another video tutorial. This is a series of YouTube re-engineering. So what I'm doing here, I'm taking YouTube and dissecting it into pieces that even an ordinary or a 3-year-old guy can understand. So what am I hoping to achieve? I want to take all the information that we have learned from various YouTube coding channel and put it into perspective, or put it together so that you can see how are these big platforms they are being created. Okay, let's jump straight to it. Now we are on video number 5. If you are still new in this channel or in this video, this is a series. There are other videos that are explaining in detail. So this is part number 5. Let's talk about the database layer. How does this fit into the whole puzzle? Let's talk about the MVC. You will always see this popping up in the videos. I'm trying to drill it to you that this pattern is very important. So you must start designing your application following this pattern. Separation of concern. The other person must not be aware of what the other person is saying, and the other person must not be aware of the other person is saying, because you know that as human being, as soon as we get that wrong, that's where we start to gossip, talk about this guy to this guy, or talk about this woman and this lady the manager said to you, and you are not performing well, and then what will happen? There will be a fight, conflict will develop in the work environment. Now let's jump straight into it. In terms of the database layer, I'm going to talk about the layer itself, number 1, but I'm not going to talk about a lot on the layer. I think there is something that is more interesting that we need to get into, and number 2, that is the database itself. So there's a difference between the database itself and the database layer. Represent it like a class in the UML, the database layer, because the database layer, it communicates with the database itself. So let's just jump straight into it, into the database layer. So in terms of the MVC, the database layer takes the M part, which is the model. This is the layer that, number 1, needs to stick to the rules of engagement, as all other layers do. The view does that, the controller does that, but also this one needs to conform to the rules of engagement. Okay, so meaning that this layer must be able to communicate with the controller. So the controller will send a request, and this layer must respond. So number 1, in the YouTube system, the model part of it, it must engage to the rules of engagement. It must have some certain rules where it can communicate with the controller. Why there are these rules of engagement? Why it looks like this whole system or YouTube architecture is contractual based. I'm not sure if that word exists in the English vocabulary, but I'm trying to say why it looks like there are contracts here. It's like we're attending a court case. You must be very strict on what you are saying, because it can be used against you in the court of law. That's what is going on. So these guys, these layers, need to conform to the rules of engagement. The reason is, maybe for some reason, YouTube decide to change the database into a different one. Now the platform is becoming bigger. Maybe the guys who invented YouTube or created YouTube before, they were just using whatever database, MySQL, or whatever database management system that they were using. And now YouTube decide, as it grows, it's hitting like million users and thousands of subscribers and whatever. Now they decided that, look, this database is no longer working, we must change it. So this means that if these two guys, they have got a contract of communication, it means that we can substitute this guy without this guy being aware of it. What does aware mean in the programming term? It means that it won't break. If you've been coding at least for 2 months, you will know that chances are you have written a spaghetti code and a fragile code. Once you change something in the user interface, all of a sudden there is an error in the business logic, there is an error in a certain module that has got nothing to do with this module, but because of your code it's spaghetti. When you change this, this is being affected, and this affects the time for updating or for sticking into the current changes. Or the client will ask you, can you please developer change this, and then you have to explain that it's not that easy, and the client won't understand because they will ask you, how is it not easy but you have been writing your own code? So this is where I come to say that a developer can also get lost into his own thinking if he doesn't use this principle. Back to YouTube. Okay, so number one, this layer, the database layer, stick to the rules of engagement. And secondly, in terms of the layer itself, let's go back to the design principle. Also, as you know that I have been mentioning this principle, please forgive me my writing, just take what I'm saying. So as we've been talking about this series, as we started, we are talking about the design principles, mentioning design patterns. Design pattern. There is a design pattern called Singleton. In the YouTube system, there must be a singleton. What is a singleton? A singleton is a class that can only be instantiated once. This layer, the database layer, it must be a singleton. What do I mean by that? This means that the YouTube team, obviously, they must have decided to have only one class, which is, let's say, the database layer. And this class is a singleton, meaning that there could be only one instance of this class. And this class, remember, it connects to the database itself. It communicates with the database. This is the class, this is the layer, and it connects to the database. So whenever Matthew comes or John comes and search how to code this and this, how to do a PHP form, this means that in all those requests, there is only one instance of that class that connects to the database. What if maybe there might be multiple connection or multiple classes that connect to the database? It will mean that if Matthew come and search something, we have to create a new instance of a database, a new instance of this class, and connect to the database. The other person comes, a new instance, connect to the database. And remember, connecting to the database is expensive. It costs time, some server resources. So if now we've got billions of requests, and all those billions, they are constructing new classes. When somebody asks for something, a new class is being created, then it will mean that the system will crash. And as you know that YouTube's platform, it's one of the very, very strong platform, because these guys keeps on making changes, but the system doesn't really show signs of breaking. At least I'm not aware of. I've only joined YouTube as a creator, I think 2 years back, and also I haven't been using YouTube for like a very long time, Okay, now let's jump straight to the point. So meaning that this layer must be a singleton. It must make use of the design pattern called a singleton. What is a singleton? A singleton allows only one instance of a class, which is the database layer. Whatever request that you are sending, the singleton needs to ask itself, do I have this class instantiated already? If the answer is true, that will mean I will return the instance, so that you can use that connection into querying whatever you want from the database and send it back to Matthew as somebody who wants to learn on how to code. What if John in United States is also requesting on how to do a PHP PDO? The class needs to ask itself, do I have an instance of it? Yes. Then send that instance. So that means that the singleton, this layer, can only connect once to the database. And then from then, it will use that one connection for all the billion users that are requesting, or billions and quadrillion. I'm not sure. I'm not good with numbers. I don't know what's the biggest number after a billion. If you know that, please shoot the comment below. So that is the singleton principle, and it is a design principle. Now we are done with the layer. let's just jump straight into the database itself. We are here now. Here we are talking about a class that connects to the database. Now we are here in the database. The one thing that I want to talk about in the database, which I might think you might not be familiar with, or it might be new to you, is normalization. Let me just try to write it. I'm very lazy in writing. The database layer, the database itself, the YouTube database, has been normalized. What is normalization? Okay, let's say we were creating a YouTube database. Okay, let's represent it in terms of a table and table rows and columns. Okay, obviously the database looks like something like this. There is a user, there is a user ID, there is the username, the name of the channel, and so forth. And in the columns there is information about that. This is Matthew, he's got a channel called Coded Design. This is a link to his channel, and this is the number of videos that he has. I hope you get the point. This is the database. But let me ask you, how far are we going to keep on extending this table in order to adding Matthew's information? Let's see how far. He's got a channel called Coded Design. He has got 7 subscribers. We must put it here. Also, he's got an AdSense account, so that when he reach whatever number of YouTube channels and subscribers, we can pay him. He's got also a Gmail account, which is this, and also he's got this playlist, and also he's got this, and also he's got that. As you can see that we are going to have a very, very, very large table, which is going to be inconsistent, because when Matthew is starting to open a YouTube channel, he doesn't have subscribers, he doesn't have a playlist, he doesn't have, so all these values are none. So as you can see that we are going to have some inconsistencies. There is information here, he doesn't have this one, he has this one, he doesn't have this one. Let me just represent that in form of strings. He doesn't have, he doesn't have, he has, he doesn't have, he doesn't have, he has, he doesn't have, and also this is too big and unstructured. Let me introduce you to the normal form. When database, let me just write this in a new paper. Sorry for that delay. When these databases are being created, this is how they are being created. This is, let me be lazy. This is normalization. All that information about Matthew, it will be written here. The username, the playlist, the AdSense account, the Gmail account, the subscribers, whatever, the YouTube analytics, algorithm, everything, it will be taken here. But now this information will be grouped according to, I can say, relevancy. Sorry about that. The YouTube will be, these tables will be grouped according to relevancy. This means that we will take all the information, Matthew's information, that relates to playlist. We are going to have another table. We are breaking this table down into its first normal form. We are going to have a table called playlist. Playlist will only have a list of videos that he has that belong to that playlist. Let's say this playlist is Conceptual OOP, a playlist that I have in my YouTube channel. Please, you can go and check it. It's for beginners. So we have Conceptual PHP. Conceptual PHP consists of videos. Which are those videos? Introduction to OOP, Object-Oriented, and Classes. So now we've just have got a simple table that is a part of this table. And then from then, let's just make another example. Now we've got a table called users. In this table called users, we only have Matthew's name, his own Gmail account, and also his own AdSense account, the password, and whatever, the username and the password. As you can see that now in this table, we are having just simple and manageable information. So meaning that in this table, we will only leave the information that relates to this table. Now, you won't have a situation whereby we said we're having a large table. He has got the AdSense account. He doesn't have the AdSense account. He has it. He doesn't have, he has. So it will mean that all the information, all the zeros that doesn't have because of it's a playlist information, we will take all of that and put it inside playlist, leaving this without zeros. And then we find out that we've got also other zeros for the user information. At the moment, he didn't create an AdSense account because he's not eligible for monetization and whatever. We take all those zeros and then we push it in here. And then now we are having a new structure, a well-normalized database, which looks like this. We've got playlist, we've got users, and we've got videos. I'm just going to do only these examples. And then this ends up being a well-normalized database. What if now the controller, or let's say what if now the model, because it's the model that really queries information from the database. Now the model wants to get the username and the password. Instead of going to a very big database that has got some zeros and things, places that are null yet, then it will only communicate with what? With users table, and it will query the username and password for this YouTuber to authenticate if this is the right YouTuber. Then if that is true, it will bounce back that information to the controller, and the controller will talk to the view. What if then we want to know more information about the playlist? At the same time, there will be another query that goes to the playlist to say that playlist, for this user ID which is here, I want this playlist. And then for this user ID, then the playlist will have information to say, okay, this is the playlist which is conceptual object-oriented programming. This is the information only about the conceptual object-oriented programming. Then we will get that information as a playlist for this YouTube account. And then from then, if you want a list of all the videos, then we will get, in these videos, we will get a list of all videos. What if we want to query only the videos that this user has liked? Obviously, in videos, there is a tab here for liked videos. He has got only two videos, video number 1 and video number 2, and he has only liked this one and he didn't like this one. So when we are querying here on videos, we can say give us all the videos that he liked, and then we'll only get one videos. Obviously this might not be clearer, but I hope you get the point of normalization. Stick with me, I'll make you famous. I'm Tim Singati, the designer and developer. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe. See you on the next one.